Alright, so we're just going to look at the first part A of our investigation 3.1, okay, which is our essential testing part of our experiment. So the first part, all we want to do is want to work out how we can actually determine what is a positive test. So if we're going to go and use these tests, so the iodine test for starch, the glucose test, the Benedict solution test for glucose, and then the copper sulfate and sodium hydroxide test for protein. We want to know what a positive test is. Okay, so we're going to do each of these tests once. Okay, so we're going to start with the iodine test, and we've got our glucose, our starch, our gelatin, and our water. Okay, so very simply, we're just going to go put a bit in each. Okay, so the first test we're going to do is the iodine test, and it's fairly easy. So all we've got to do is take a squirt of iodine, and it says add 2 drops to each of the solutions. Okay, so if I very carefully I'm going to add to each. All right, which one's positive?
Middle
one. Okay, which is the starch solution. So if we have a look at that one there, okay, you can see it's a bright blue, so that's the positive. So when you do your food, if it turns out like that, that's obviously going to be a positive test for starch. Okay, so the next one is going to be the glucose test. We're going to use Benedict solution and heat. So first of all, we have to add our Benedict solution, which is like a bluey colour, to each of them. Okay. We're going to heat it. So if I'm going to start this, hole open or closed?
Open.
Open or closed?
Closed.
Okay, so we want to have it closed because we want to produce the yellow flame. Okay, so I light the match first. Hopefully I've got one that works. There we go. Okay, so we do that. We use our heat. So we've got our glucose solution first. So we're testing for glucose. We've got a glucose solution. We've got a Benedict solution. We're going to heat it. Okay, so that looked like a positive reaction.
Yeah.
Okay, so it didn't take very long, so we'll do the same thing for our starch. So it doesn't take an awful long time to get going. Okay, it's bubbling. Got to be important that you're careful. All right, obviously, it would be no good if someone was standing right here and it went off. Okay, so we can see that hasn't changed colour. That's our starch, and then our gelatin. Heat that one too.
Gelatin. Yummy.
Something happened.
Ollie.
Something happened.
It's a positive result, actually.
Ollie.
So it's gone a darker colour, but it hasn't really, it's still a bluey colour there. We'll talk about that later. And then we've got water as well. Okay, so that's why it's important not to aim it at someone, because it does bubble and spit sometimes if you get it too hot.
Looks like it's going straight for sand.
Okay, so it's gone off. You can see that it's still blue. So turn the heat off for the moment. Now we've got 2 separate things. If we look at this down here, we've got orange, the 2 blues are unreactive, and then we've got gelatin. Okay, we know that this one is glucose and it's a test for glucose. So out of these 2, which one is a positive test for glucose? The orangey red one. Okay, so this one, there is a change in colour, but we know that that's not glucose. Okay, so when we're testing for glucose, we're looking for this colour change here. Okay? Okay, so the last test we're going to do is we're going to test for protein, and to do this, we need 2 solutions. We need sodium hydroxide and copper sulfate. and we add them both in, and we should get a reaction. Okay. So add a few drops in.
That one's not clean, Jeremy. Yeah.
Okay, and then I'm going to add my copper sulfate, and we're looking for that reaction. Which one do you think we're going to see it
It's
in?
not clean.
Third one.
Kinetics.
Yeah. Okay, now all of them go a little bit of a tingy bluey green. That's the copper. Okay, if you see copper start to corrode, you often see that bluey yellowy, greeny yellowy colour on it, which is why you can see the tinge in these three. But you can see very clearly that the gelatin there, if you hold it against a white background, has turned a purpley colour. So that is going to be a positive test for protein or gelatin. Okay, so we've gone through, we've done our 3 tests, our starch test. What colour does the starch go? The first one? A darker colour. The glucose test goes orange, and then our protein test goes that purpley colour. Okay, so those are the 3 tests that we do. Thanks, gents. Those are the 3 tests that we're going to do when we test our foods. All right, and that's what the positive, or the actual positive reactions are when you get one. Okay, so just very quickly, the positive test for glucose looks like that. The positive test for starch is going to look like that. Okay, so it's gone quite dark. And then finally, the positive test for protein looks like that. Okay, I hope you found this useful.